You're listening to The World at 8 with Lynn Mozart. The World at 8, the number one in nationalist news.
Highlights of the news today, Friday the 9th of May 2014. Police raid child sexual exploitation ring in Dover's Slovakian Roma community. Surrey County Council leader 60% pay rise unacceptable. Are women nagging husbands to death? Research shows henpecked men twice as likely to die young. China to send police to help patrol Paris streets. Immigrant row erupts as 1,000 land in Sicily. Nick Griffin MEP from the belly of the beast. Carnage in Ukraine as 8 are shot dead in gun battles outside government building seized by Russian militia. Syrian conflict, government troops retake Hom's old city. Russian strategic bombers on west coast, did they take down Los Angeles air traffic control systems? Thought for the day, a new car for the times. And finally, 2 for 1 for the elderly. UK news. Police raid child sexual exploitation ring in Dover's Slovakian Roma community. Police raids in Dover Thursday 7th of May were part of a countrywide operation in which 22 people were arrested in connection with an investigation into child sexual exploitation. Officers swooped on Best Kebab in Cannon Street and a property in Churchill Street. A bedsit in Snargate Street was also targeted. Police carried on a series of early morning raids at addresses in Kent, the Midlands and Yorkshire. The operation was focused on an organised criminal network believed to be involved with the sexual exploitation of young girls from the Slovakian Roma community in Margate, Folkestone, Dover and Gravesend. Arrests have also been made in Leeds and Birmingham. More than 320 Kent officers were involved with the National Crime Agency, officers from Slovakia Police and Kent County Council Specialist Children's Services. This is believed to be a unique investigation in the country owing to the number of arrests, addresses searched and victims who have engaged with police and partner agencies. World at 8. I remember 2 months ago in Aylesbury when an Asian walked into the coffee bar and took a roll of banknotes from a middle-aged Roma woman who had 2 young girls with her, clearly on the game. The Asians are making use of the Romas because no one else wants them, and their underage girls are for sale. We are once again importing crime into the UK. Surrey County Council leader 60% pay rise unacceptable. A decision by the ruling Conservative group on Surrey County Council to award a 60% pay rise to the leader has been slammed as unjustifiable. The figures were based on recommendations from an independent remuneration panel, IRP, but some were changed at the full council meeting. Labour, Lib Dem, Green, Residents Association, Independent and UKIP members criticised the move. The Conservative deputy leader said pay had not changed for over a decade. The IRP recommendations included 81 councillors' basic allowances rising from £11,791 to £12,418, the leader's allowance rising from £27,000 to £35,548, the deputy leader's allowance increasing from £19,500 to £30,333, and 8 cabinet members' allowances rising from £16,500 to £22,151. 3 opposing groups, our Residents Association, Independent and UKIP, criticised the Conservatives for tabling changed figures at a meeting without notice. They said the new scheme would see the leader's pay rise from £27,000 to £43,000, while his deputy would see his pay rise from £19,500 to £31,250. World at 8. I have information from an inside worker that they work in horrendous conditions whilst their so-called bosses live the high life. What use are council elections if this is allowed to continue? European news. Are women nagging husbands to death? Research shows henpecked men twice as likely to die young. Scientists in Denmark claim to have proven bickering couples are more likely to die young and henpecked men are twice as likely to die in middle age. Bickering among couples can be a real health hazard and stressed out men are literally being nagged to death, according to new research. Men subjected to nagging, constant demands and worries from their partners are twice as likely to die young than blokes who are less henpecked, Danish scientists claim. But women are more immune from high maintenance partners as there is little effect on their death rate. Some 10,000 men and women aged 36 to 52 from Denmark were quizzed about who made the most demands on them and caused the most conflict. Researchers found out that out of every 100,000 people, 315 deaths could be caused by spousal demands and worries. The findings were published in the Journal of Epidemiology and Community Health. China to send police to help patrol Paris streets. Police in Paris will draft in reinforcements from Beijing to help protect Chinese visitors to the city this summer, according to reports this week. Chinese tourists have been the target of some recent high-profile muggings and attacks. Chinese police will help patrol tourist destinations in Paris this summer after a rise in muggings and attacks on Chinese tourists, a source in France's Interior Minister told AFP this week. The ministry source said that the Chinese police would help their French counterparts in Paris tourist spots but declined to give numbers. More than 1 million Chinese visitors come to France every year and there have been concerns over a number of muggings and attacks against them. In March last year, a group of 23 Chinese visitors were robbed in a restaurant shortly after they landed at Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport. World at 8, thin end of the wedge. Let the French police do something. It's their country after all, and they must protect their own people as well. Once again they have imported a vast majority of their criminals. Immigrant row erupts as 1,000 land in Sicily. Stop the invasion, Northern League leader says. A row between the anti-immigrant Northern League and the Interior Ministry erupted Wednesday as 1,000 migrants landed in Sicily, the largest recent ripple in a wave of arrivals that has surged since the deaths of 400 asylum seekers spurred a take-all-comers rescue operation last year. Resign, you're inept, Northern League leader Matteo Salvini told Interior Minister Angelino Alfano. Italy is suffering an unprecedented invasion and you're not doing your job. Resign for the sake of Italians, Salvini said, after visiting an overflowing migrant centre in Rome. The League leader said Italy needed a referendum to make entering Italy illegally a criminal offence again, as it was until a League-led law was repealed last year. Salvini also said that the migrants were getting food and accommodation that Italians don't get. Alfano, who has been subjected to repeat criticism by the League, did not reply. One migrant was found dead aboard one of the several rickety boats saved by the Navy overnight. According to figures released by Defence Minister Roberto Pinotti Wednesday, almost 30,000 migrants have been rescued since the start of the Mare Nostrum, Our Sea operation, launched last autumn. Most of them are from the sub-Saharan Africa, including war-torn countries like the South Sudan, while an increasing number are from Syria and the Palestinian territories. The Interior Ministry said last week that 800,000 asylum seekers were poised to set off for Europe from North Africa. People traffickers have been getting ever richer in pickings from people who scrimp or enslave or sex labour to pay their passage to a better life, observers say. The departures increased sharply after Libya collapsed into lawlessness following the fall of strongman Muammar Gaddafi. Italy reduced arrivals to a trickle under a controversial pushback deal with Gaddafi, similar to Australia's policy of turning back boat people. World at 8. It really is now or never for the Italians, or they will end up like us, paying through the nose for the privilege of being outbred and outfinanced. Belly of the beast. I now hand you over to Nick Griffin MEP.
Well, good evening to you. I'm going to keep this very short today because I'm recording it on my mobile phone while I'm campaigning up in the northwest for the European elections, and I'm not sure how large a file I can send off this beastie. So, very briefly, I will tell you what I've been doing today. I've been actually two different pieces of recording with the BBC in Manchester for the politics show. I was in there more or less first thing this morning to do a piece with Andrew Neil, who's the main chap on it, obviously. Frankly, I think he's a horrible toad, but I don't expect he likes me either. But anyway, Mr. Neil was reasonable today, which is a pleasant change, and I was delighted to see that the programme actually started with an extract of our banned broadcast with Mr. Farage's quotes about how UKIP like immigration and want immigration, followed by our chorus, which I'm told is now being hummed and sung in workplaces and by lorry drivers and people in shops all over the country. It's got into people's heads. So some success there, and of course the broadcast itself is still going rampant on the internet. So great work to the BNP TV team. And Charlie Wythe through our publicity department was done on that. It really is quite something. I was then off to Burnley to do some filming and meet up with our campaigners there, and then back down to Manchester for another piece for the politics show, this time for the Sunday politics, going out, naturally enough, this Sunday. So my run-in with Andrew Neil today, which everyone seems to think went very well indeed. That'll be available, I'm sure, on the internet, but you can watch the Sunday politics piece on Sunday. I was in there with the local Lib Dem MEP and also with one of the UKIP hopefuls. Quite pleased there. We were discussing, amongst other things, the possible takeover of AstraZeneca, and it ended up at one point with her talking about looking after British jobs and so on, and the interviewer, commentator, saying, "Oh, so you mean British jobs for British workers?" And she hummed and hawed, "No, I didn't quite say that." So I just said, "Well, I did." So very pleased with that. Got across the fact that UKIP's anti-immigration policy is actually an anti-East European but pro-African Asian immigration policy, which would see about 350,000 Africans and Asians pouring into this country every year. And I pointed out to people that if they're actually anti-immigration, they've got a simple choice to make. Do they want that, or they want the BNP policy? Shut the door, Britain's full, white, brown, black, green, we don't want any of them. I think a lot of people seeing that will know exactly which side they're going to choose. So all in all, a good day. So best of luck to all of you campaigning out there. Keep at it, keep the faith, keep going, and we'll get there in the end, because whatever happens in this election, that UKIP bubble's going to burst. In the meantime, they'll have taken down the Lib Dems. They're going to take down at least one of the other parties into an election disaster next year with them, and with all of them being damaged goods, our time will come.
Thank you very much, Nick, and good luck on your campaign trail. World news. Carnage in Ukraine as 8 are shot dead in gun battles outside government building seized by Russian militia. 8 people have been shot dead after Ukrainian forces clashed with pro-Russian militia in the port city of Mariupol. Fighting broke out at the area's police headquarters and interior ministry as local forces tried to reclaim the buildings, which were seized by separatists last night. Pro-Moscow insurgents are now said to be firing from inside and have access to a large armoury. A local photographer at the scene told Reuters the building was ablaze and that 2 bodies were lying in the street outside. One of them is definitely a police officer, he said. Other reports said the headquarters were ridden with bullet holes after a vicious gun battle broke out. A parade marking the Soviet Union's victory over the Nazis in 1945 was taking place in the city at the time, but participants were redirected and joined the violence. Ukrainian forces have brought several armoured cars into the town, a major industrial and shipping centre with a population of around 500,000 people. Tanks were seen patrolling the streets as brawls broke out around the city, days after 30 pro-Russia insurgents were killed in Sloviansk. Syrian conflict. Government troops retake Homs old city. Syrian government forces have retaken control of the old city of Homs after the evacuation of rebel troops. State television declared on Thursday that the old city was totally clean of armed terrorist groups, but officials later confirmed that the evacuation was not fully over. Earlier, Homs governor Talal al-Barazi said more than 1,500 fighters and their relatives had left since Wednesday. The evacuation marks the end of 3 years of resistance in Homs. Syria's third city was once dubbed the capital of the revolution. Much of Homs fell to the opposition in 2011, but over the past 2 years government forces have gradually regained control by subjecting areas once home to the tens of thousands to continuous siege and bombardment. Government forces took full control of the heart of Homs on Thursday, state media said, after rebels in the old city boarded buses and were transported to rebel-held territory to the north. Old Homs is totally clean of armed terrorist groups, state television said, using the government's term for those seeking to topple President Bashir al-Assad. However, Syrian officials have since told the BBC that 280 fighters are still to be evacuated from the city and the process will resume on Friday. Russian strategic bombers on West Coast, did they take down Los Angeles air traffic control systems? With the situation in the Ukraine escalating and the US continuing to call for sanctions against Russia's financial and political elite, Vladimir Putin is now not only mobilising tens of thousands of troops on his Western Front, but sending intercontinental strategic bombers across the Pacific Ocean. According to the US military, it's the first time since the Cold War that Russia's incursions have come this close to America. What's even more alarming is that Russia is making clear that any attack on the motherland would likely lead to a widespread bombardment of Western interests. Nuclear-capable Russian bombers have been spotted all over the world as of late, including in Guam, Japan, South Korea and Europe. World at 8. Feed the media, feed the media. What is clear is that the Europeans are the only people in the world who don't seem to resent any attack on their countries, whether it be quiet or more open. Don't resent anyone standing up for their country. It is the nationalist way, isn't it? Thought for the day, a new car for the times. Press release. These days every car company claims that their latest model is environmentally friendly, no matter how much it pollutes the planet and makes Indians standing by the road cry bitter tears. But what does environmentally friendly really mean? At Envia Motors, we've set out to make a car without concessions to speed, performance or handling, because we put the environment first. Fueled by a dream and $2 billion in government grant money, we challenged ourselves to see whether 4 community organisers with no technical knowledge or skill could create a car that would become a compulsory driving experience. And with the Envia Discord 2015, we succeeded beyond your wildest mandated imagination. The Discord isn't just a car, it's a political experience. It speaks to our yearnings and aspirations. And it has plastic skis permanently attached to the roof. So it looks like you're always heading to a ski weekend, even when you're off to pretend to work at a non-profit to help inner city children. Envia is all about choice. That's why the Discord 2015 comes in every colour from avocado green to plantain green, so that you can have your green car just the way you like it. But the Discord isn't just environmentally friendly. Its commitment to social justice begins with steering wheels at every seat so that everyone can drive. Studies show that even in multiracial families, white males are most likely to be the drivers, and the Discord uses engineered disruption to sabotage the patriarchy. Like the progressive movement, the Discord has no brakes, because once we're in moving forward, there's never a reason to stop. The Envia Discord 2015 also has no seatbelts or airbags because, check your privilege. Most people of colour around the world lack these things, and it's only your sense of entitlement that leads you to expect that a car company should value your life more than that of a person of colour. Some might say that the Discord is missing something, but we prefer to think of it as the meaningful absence that the Discord brings into your life. We didn't just leave out things that every other car has to save money. With a sticker price of £395,000, that obviously was never an issue. Instead, we did it as part of our mutual commitment to changing how we envision what a car is. Car companies have encouraged consumers to see their vehicles as property to protect against the economically challenged. Envia Motors disrupts the capitalist system of property and theft by taking all the locks off the doors, the trunk and the ignition. Anyone can enter and drive a Discord once they undergo a privilege check that connects the driver by remote satellite link to an organic public intellectual with a PhD in social justice. And to make it even easier, the Discord automatically advertises its location on Craigslist at every stop and encourages the oppressed urban workers and peasants to make off with it. Despite Envia's best efforts, no member of an oppressed group has chosen to redistribute a Discord. That is why we are committed to spending more money on outreach to traditionally oppressed groups. While the Envia Discord 2015 may not have brakes, seatbelts, airbags, locks or a windshield, check your privilege, The money that could have gone to those entitled safety features was instead spent on turning its bumper into an HD screen that automatically pulls the latest social justice hashtags from Twitter and displays them as bumper stickers. The Discord 2015 is inclusive. Its seat cushions, woven out of fair trade whole grain fibres by Yamadou Indians in Bolivia, accommodate a variety of sizes and shapes. Its cup holder can blend wheat grain smoothies and can perform emergency sex change operations for those who want to give up their cisgender privilege. Envia Motors has also reached out to the Muslim community by programming the Discord 2015 to explode when it hears the words Jihad, Allahu Akbar or Shiite. It will also explode when its internal CPU, which is always monitoring your conversations, hears anything racist, homophobic, transphobic, cisgender, heteronormative or any other thought crimes from a list that is constantly being updated through the cloud. Sometimes the Discord 2015 will just explode for no reason. Check your privilege. Unlike consumer cars, the Discord has no manual. Instead, it has a 6-year graduate course that takes you through the intricacies of Western capitalism and invites you to understand your complicity in the oppression of others. If you refuse to educate yourself, it's your own fault. There is also no helpline. The expectation that white people should have unlimited access to the time of trans pansexual people of colour is an insidious form of privilege. And our helpline, which doesn't take calls, is entirely manned by trans bisexual people of colour. Check your privilege. Everyone knows electric cars have a higher carbon footprint than ordinary petrol death machines. That's why the Discord isn't an electric car. You can put in any number of sustainable, environmentally correct fuels into its tank, from seaweed smoothies to Iranian uranium, but it still won't run. That's because the Discord is powered by people power, literally. To make the Discord move forward, just rope a dozen members of the bourgeois middle class to its fair trade tenterhooks. Then crack a sustainable fair trade whip over their heads until they begin moving forward at a brisk trot, taking you to a conference on income equality or to your executive offices at the Department of Health and Human Services, just in time for your 4-hour lunch break. We won't lie to you. People have died in the making of the Discord 2015, and they will go on dying as Discords driven by multiple drivers with no brakes careen through urban environments, leaving a trail of death in their wake. But people have always died fighting for social justice. The Discord isn't just another car, it's a vehicle for social justice, and the blood on its grille, dashboard and tyres demonstrates Envia's commitment to a better world at any cost. The deaths of your loved ones at the hand of the Envia Discord 2015 invite you to check your privilege. Automobile accidents are a first world problem. In most of the world, no one can even afford to be hit by a car. The life expectancy of a child in Africa is less than 5 minutes. The gasoline that fuels ordinary petrol death machines is made out of the congealed blood of Iraqi children. Before you join the heteronormative transphobic class action lawsuit against Envia Motors, check your privilege and ask yourself, how much am I willing to sacrifice for social justice? The Discord 2015, coming soon to London and other areas of our island that have yet to be assimilated. And finally, to offend the elderly, maybe. I've sure gotten old. I've had 2 bypass surgeries, a hip replacement, new knees, fought prostate cancer and diabetes. I'm half blind, can't hear anything quieter than a jet engine, take 40 different medications that make me dizzy, winded and subject to blackouts, have bouts with dementia, have poor circulation, hardly feel my hands and feet anymore, can't remember if I'm 85 or 92, have lost all my friends, but thank God I still have my driver's licence. I feel like my body's got totally out of shape, so I got my doctor's permission to join a fitness club and start exercising. I decided to take an aerobics class for seniors. I bent, twisted, gyrated, jumped up and down and perspired for an hour, but by the time I got my leotard on, the class was over. You've been listening to The World at 8. I am Lynn Mozar, and I and the team at World at 8 and Radio Britain wish you all a very happy and a very safe weekend.